Rinkwide Vancouver, pregame, postgame, every game presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play at bodog.net. Wadden and J-Pat here with you with another edition of the pregame show as the Canucks get a week off after tonight's game, J-Pat, but which Canucks team is going to show up tonight? Hopefully not that team that faced off against the Kraken the other night.
Well, here's the good news. I don't think they can be worse than they were in Seattle the other night, and of course beat Chicago in Rick Tocchet's debut. And now they get the last place Blue Jackets coming to town. As you said, no games into the All-Star break after this one, so don't keep it in reserves. Lay it all out there. Not that there's a ton to play for at this point, but again, this is all part of the audition process for a new head coach. So if I am trying to find some sort of good news to sell this, I don't think they can be as bad as they were at Climate Pledge. That may not be saying an awful lot, but let's see what it looks like when they hit the ice against CBJ tonight.
Let's get to the lineup change, which is presented by Delaney's OK Tire out there on Fraser Highway in Langley. Is JT Miller going to get a demotion tonight?
Well, he didn't play much in Seattle the other night. Only Jack Studnicka had less 5-on-5 ice time than JT Miller, and so it would look like Miller is going to be on the third line tonight. Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland were his line mates at the morning skate. A couple of changes above them in the lineup, though, and some intrigue as well, because Lane Peterson, who hasn't played yet under Rick Tocchet, was skating alongside Elias Pettersson and Andrei Kuzmenko, and then we found out that Lane Peterson had been placed on waivers. Now, he can't be sent to Abbotsford until he clears waivers, so he can't play tonight, and maybe that is the case, and then they'll send him down to the farm. We'll have to see, unless there's a corresponding move that's going to require a roster spot. But again, he has to clear waivers before he can be sent to the minors, so that can't happen until tomorrow. And then the other line that the Canucks had was Mikheyev, he's gone ice cold, 14 without a goal. He's playing with Bo Horvat and Brock Besser. So, yeah, some different looks to the forward group. Jack Studnicka, who looked like he got the bump the other night in Tocchet's debut, finds himself on a fourth line, which is probably, in the grand scheme, where he slots in this lineup right now, but they wanted to see him in some different roles, so maybe he'll get some penalty-killing duty as well. And then on defense, Ethan Bear back with his team, not a surprise. He's going to get plugged in. It looks like Riley Stillman is going to play as well, so Travis Dermott, who I thought he struggled in Seattle the other night. Travis Dermott looks like he's going to take a seat for this one. Kyle Burrows as well. And we'll see some defense pairings. Looks like it's going to be Quinn Hughes with Ethan Bear. And they are going to break up OEL and Tyler Myers. I think that had to happen. So it looks like OEL with Luke Shen, and Myers is probably going to play with Riley Stillman.
Rick Tocchet called his team soft after that loss to the Seattle Kraken. It'll be interesting to see how this team responds tonight.
Yeah, it was a full team day off for them after the back-to-back games, so no practice yesterday. It's right back at it after a morning skate, but certainly those words would have filtered down to the players, and I don't think anybody wants to be called soft, but they didn't play very well against the Kraken, so as we said, I think you'll see a better effort. I would imagine you'll see some guys respond to the words of the head coach, but hopefully Rick Tocchet doesn't have to call his team soft again for a second straight game after taking on one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League tonight.
And opening the scoring has been a struggle for the Canucks. It's been a few weeks since they've gotten the game's first tally.
Yeah, I mentioned Jack Studnicka. Remember the floater in Florida that sort of handcuffed Sergei Bobrovsky early in a hockey game? That's the last time the Canucks have opened the scoring. That's 6 games ago. So the last 6 games, again, this team's not good enough to constantly be chasing, but that's been the problem. It's been the problem a lot this season, but here of late, 6 straight games where they have fallen behind. Usually it's early in the hockey game. That was the case against Edmonton on the weekend in Bruce Boudreau's final game. It was the case the other night in Seattle. Even the Chicago game, Patrick Kane opened the scoring in that one. So let's see. Against a CBJ team that struggles to score, maybe the Canucks can get the jump and dictate the way the game's going to be played.
The power play was a weapon for the Canucks, but it's gone cold, and we all know about that PK. Going to have to get some improvement with those special teams.
Yeah, 4 straight without a power play goal for the Vancouver Canucks now, and they have scored power play goals in just 1 of their last 6. They had a pair against the Tampa Lightning, but 5 of the last 6 games, the Canucks have been held at bay when they've had the man advantage. And you're right, what once was a weapon for this team, now all of a sudden they look out of sorts and just not a lot of flow there. So we'll see if they stick with the same power play units, or maybe some change will be coming when it comes to working with the man advantage. Penalty kill, yeah, it's been an issue all season long. I suppose the good news is they're facing the 31st best power play in the National Hockey League. But look, we've seen other struggling and scuffling power plays come to town, and the Canucks seem to be the cure with the worst penalty kill in the National Hockey League. So that's one of the matchups. The game with within the game. Columbus with the 31st power play in the National Hockey League, and the Canucks, of course, with that 32nd penalty kill, and it's been in the basement all season long.
Canuck fans got to say goodbye to Bruce Boudreau last weekend. Perhaps they might be saying goodbye to the captain tonight.
Yeah, well, we hear some Bo. There it is, chance. Look, this is the reality of the situation. The team commits to Andrei Kuzmenko yesterday. There is no money left, so Bo is on the go. It's just a question of when. And after the All-Star break here, and he is going to play in the All-Star game in South Florida, but out of the All-Star break, 4 straight on the road. The Canucks don't have another home game after this one until February 13th. So it is conceivable that a trade would go down between now and then. So if you're going to the game or you're watching, keep an eye on 53 because it could very well be the last time we see Bo Horvat in a Vancouver Canuck uniform in this building.
Let's focus in on the Blue Jackets for just a moment. They're coming off a OT win over Edmonton. They've won 2 of 3. However, they're still in the basement in the NHL.
They are. So even a little bit of good news for them, beating the Oilers in overtime the other night. Did you see what happened on the out-of-town scoreboard, though, last night? Chicago wins in Calgary. The Arizona Coyotes shut out the St. Louis Blues. And how about Anaheim goes into Denver and knocks off the defending champion Colorado Avalanche? So all of a sudden, the bottom feeders, they all pick up points, and that leaves poor old Columbus back in the basement again with just 33 points on the season. Yeah, it's been a struggle for Brad Larsen's team all year long, but saying that, they have won 2 of their last 4 hockey games. So for them, that qualifies as heating things up. And, they beat the Oilers in overtime. If they can beat Edmonton in overtime, they can beat the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks are in no position to take anybody for granted. But yes, CBJ, by the numbers, the last place team in the National Hockey League as they roll into the Raj tonight.
First glimpse for Vancouver fans to lay their eyes on Port Moody's Kent Johnson, who will make his Vancouver a debut with CBJ tonight.
Yeah, and he was the overtime hero the other night. And he's having a fine rookie season. He's got 9 goals and 14 points in the games that he has played. I went to high school with his aunt. So that's my connection, my claim to fame when it comes to Kent Johnson. But he'll have family and friends in attendance, certainly. And they're in Seattle tomorrow night, the Blue Jackets are. So probably the family, like Matt Barzell's family, went down to Seattle and then came back here to watch him play. I would imagine that some will be making the trek down the I-5. But look, this guy, he started his career in Port Moody Minor Hockey, went on to play in the BC Hockey League in Trail, and then to the University of Michigan, and a 5th overall pick a couple of years ago, stepping in. He's a young 20-year-old. He turned 20 in October. And so here he is, and he's already become a frontline guy for this Columbus team because the Blue Jackets don't have a ton of offense. They don't have a ton of guys that generate, but he is one of them. And I think a lot of people will be keeping an eye on Kent Johnson for the Blue Jackets tonight.
I did not go to school with any of Johnny Gaudreau's relatives, but this will be our first chance to see him in a Blue Jackets uniform.
Yeah, nor did I. If we're all just being honest here, I think my only tie to the Blue Jackets is a distant one. But yeah, I mean, look, we've seen Johnny Hockey come through Vancouver for years with the Calgary Flames. He's been better than a point-a-game guy over his career against the Vancouver Canucks, so he has been productive, and he's been productive in his first season. I know it's not going well for the team, but it certainly isn't Johnny Hockey's fault. The guy is a point-a-game player as he rolls in here. He's got 47 points. He's got an 18-point lead on anybody else on this team. So he's been doing his thing. The problem is that he just doesn't have enough of a supporting cast. And what supporting cast the Blue Jackets had early on, they have been decimated by injuries as well. So, a team that was already in tough, and they've lost some of their key players. But they did get Boone Jenner back recently. He has 14 goals. He and Patrick Laine are tied for the team lead in goals, but Johnny Hockey is the points leader. 13 goals, 34 assists, 47 points. And we know that single-handedly, he can make some things happen. Probably won't get the boo treatment that he did from Flames fans when this road trip began. But, again, Canucks and Canuck fans are well aware of what he's capable of. And he is a guy that can, with his skill level, take over a hockey game.
When you're 32nd in the NHL, you lose a lot home or away, but the Columbus Blue Jackets are awful on the road.
Yeah, 4 wins. 4 wins all season, and one of them was the other night in Edmonton. So it has been a grind. They picked up victories at Madison Square against the Rangers, against Winnipeg early on. They went into Detroit, beat the Red Wings, and then they win against the Oilers the other night. But when you can rattle off a team's road victories just like that, you still get your thumb. You don't even need thumb. 4 road wins all season. So that's the challenge for the Blue Jackets is finding a way to follow up a win in Edmonton and back it up with another one against the Canucks tonight.
Let's get to the stat that stands out. It's presented by Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
I love this one. Kirill Marchenko. Keep an eye on this guy. He was a second-round pick of the Blue Jackets back in 2018. In fact, the Canucks had a chance at him. They took Jet Wu that year in the second round, but lots of teams can look and say, hey, maybe we missed on Kirill Marchenko. He's a rookie. He's played 25 games. He has 11 goals and no assists. All of his points have come in the way of goals, and the Blue Jackets had these in their game notes this morning. This is staggering to me. First guy in 100 years in the National Hockey League to register his first 11 points as goals. So that's definitely a stat that stands out. But 11 goals in 25 games? Like, that's all right. That's pretty good production. So, again, we're talking about Kent Johnson and a rookie, Kirill Marchenko. These are guys that are part of the youth movement for the Blue Jackets. Johnny Hockey is going to be there for a while. He signed his big ticket. We'll see how it goes. Patrick Laine re-upped with the hockey team. Gus Nyquist, we should have mentioned as well. That's a guy that they've leaned on for some offense, but he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. He will not play tonight due to an upper body injury suffered the other night in Edmonton. But 11 goals, no assists. I don't know if he knows who Cy Young is, but he's certainly part of that Cy Young run in the National Hockey League this season.
Let's get to my Bodog best bet, as I like Quinn Hughes and Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau, over an assist each, over 0.5 assists at plus 140. These guys, they love to rack up the points and they love to get the apples. Hughes and Gaudreau, both with assists tonight.
All right, yeah. I mean, both terrific playmakers, and wouldn't surprise me if they chip in with a little bit of offense. Again, neither one of these teams defends particularly well. I think we may see some goals in this one. If you get some goals, stands to reason that there's going to be some assists along the way as well.
We got Bodog Bucks to give away as well. $50. Here's what you got to do. Head to @RinkWideVan on Twitter and be the closest to guess the time and the period of the game-winning goal from either team. Post that below on Twitter, or you can do that right here in the comment section as well. The closest to the game-winning goal, time, and period is taking home $50 in Bodog Bucks. All right, this is what everybody's been waiting for, J-Pat. It's time for you to tell us who is going to do something in this game.
I love your build-up, but let's be honest, this is the Canucks and the Blue Jackets. I don't know if everybody's been waiting for somebody to do something, but we'll see what happens. And, of course, this is the final one of these pregames for the better part of 10 days here, because we won't be doing one the day of the All-Star game, even though there are a couple of Canucks in there. But we'll get back at it when the Canucks start that road trip out of the All-Star break against the New Jersey Devils. Hey, this guy got the new contract. He committed to the hockey club. The team committed to him yesterday. Andrei Kuzmenko making news yesterday. What will he do now that he's got that security, that he's secured the bag? Look, he's been doing a lot of things all season long. He has 4 goals in his last 5 games. I know it wasn't a particularly good night for anybody in a Canuck uniform in Seattle the other night, but prior to that, 2 more goals for Andrei Kuzmenko in Rick Tocchet's coaching debut. So Blue Jackets, as we said, they give up a lot. Wouldn't surprise me if Andrei Kuzmenko rises to the challenge here. And if he does, we'll get the celebration. We'll get the big grin. Andrei Kuzmenko, I'm looking at you to do something to celebrate the contract extension with the Vancouver Canucks.
We want you to do something right now if you haven't done so already. Hit that subscribe button. You're watching us on YouTube. Why not subscribe to our page? That'll help us out a ton. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our post-game podcast yet, well, what are you waiting for? Go over to your favorite podcast platform and do that right now. Last one before a week off for the Canucks, J-Pat, as CBJ comes to town. And we'll be here to recap it all with the post-game podcast on your favorite podcast platform. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Watt. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.